The case of the 8 billion CFA francs accused of being embezzled by Cameroonian magistrates. Today it is an open secret in Cameroon. The majority of Cameroonians consider the judiciary to be one of the most corrupt bodies in the country. The recent warnings from the Minister of Justice, Laurent Esso, do not seem to have been listened to, and the affair of the Professional Group of Acanias of Cameroon, GPAC, is a striking illustration of this. In July 2014, during the rainy season, dockworkers, port handling companies, and dockworkers found themselves confronted with a situation not provided for by the National Collective Agreement for Port Handling, how to remunerate dockworkers whose services were interrupted by rain. After negotiations, a Memorandum of Understanding was signed in July 2014, stipulating the terms of remuneration in the event of interruption by rain. This agreement was applied until 2018, when the National Collective Agreement for Port Handling was revised. However, the Departmental Union of Port Handling and Similar Workers of Wuri, STUPO, which had just lost the elections and its hegemony in the sector, referred the matter to the Arbitration Council of the Littoral Court of Appeal. The STUPO claims that the application of this agreement resulted in a shortfall of 8,584,040,000 CFA francs for dockworkers. But the problem is that the STUPO was unable to provide a list of dockers concerned, or even the list of its own members, despite the request of the Arbitration Council. Indeed, not all dockworkers are and cannot be represented by the STUPO, even though there are around 20 unions in this sector. This lack of solid justification raises questions about the real motivations behind this decision of the Arbitration Council, which seems to be a hidden strategy of a few magistrates to monopolize more than 8 billion CFA francs. Of course, here are more details on this disturbing case. The heart of the problem lies in the Memorandum of Understanding signed in 2014 between Acanias and dockers. This agreement aimed to define the terms of remuneration of dockers in the event of interruption of their services due to rain. It was applied for 4 years, from 2014 to 2018, without any apparent problems. However, in 2018, when the National Collective Agreement for Port Handling was revised, the STUPO, Departmental Union of Port Handling and Similar Workers of Wuri, referred the matter to the Arbitration Council of the Coastal Court of Appeal. This union, which had just lost the elections in the sector, claims that the application of this agreement resulted in a shortfall of 8,584,040,000 CFA francs for dockers. But the Arbitration Council quickly identified a major problem. The STUPO was unable to provide the list of supposedly injured dockers, or even the list of its own members, despite the request. Indeed, the port sector has around 20 different unions, and not all dockers are represented by the STUPO. This seriously calls into question the legitimacy and solidity of the figures put forward by this union. This is where the scandal takes a disturbing turn. Because the Arbitration Council, instead of rejecting this request for lack of evidence, decided to order the payment of a colossal sum of 8,584,040,000 CFA francs, the equivalent of 13 million euros. This raises serious suspicions about the true motivations of certain magistrates, who seem to want to unduly appropriate this enormous sum, taking advantage of the lack of transparency and endemic corruption in the Cameroonian judicial system. This case illustrates how glaring the problem of corruption within the judiciary is in Cameroon. Despite the warnings of the Minister of Justice, it appears that certain judges are ready to abuse their authority to enrich themselves personally, to the detriment of the general interest. Here are the last elements that I can communicate to you on this complex matter. The Independent Commission of Inquiry set up carried out in-depth investigations for several months. Its conclusions, finally made public in December 2023, were damning for the various parties. First of all, the Commission was able to establish that the STUPO was indeed not representative of all the dockers at the Port of Douala. Only a minority of dockers were members of this union, the majority being spread across around 20 other competing union organizations. Then, the careful analysis of attendance and remuneration registers revealed numerous irregularities and swelling of declared hours, in collusion with certain union officials. It turned out that the figures put forward by the STUPO were largely overrated, without any factual justification. But the most disturbing was undoubtedly the highlighting of the close links between the president of the STUPO and several magistrates of the Arbitration Council who rendered the contested decision. Evidence of money payments and gifts has been formally established, demonstrating the existence of a real system of corruption within the justice system. Faced with these overwhelming elements, the government has decided to take vigorous measures. Dissolution of the STMPO and ban on its leaders from carrying out any union activity for 5 years. Referral to the Supreme Court to annul the decision of the Arbitration Council. Opening of legal proceedings against magistrates involved in embezzlement. In-depth reform of the control and monitoring system for port activities. This affair caused an unprecedented shock wave in Cameroon, revealing the extent of the corruption which is plaguing the country, including at the highest level of the state apparatus. It has led to a collective awareness of the urgent need to strengthen the rule of law and transparency in the management of public affairs.